Hello, everybody. This is Greg Safardini from Data Plus. I'm just going to wait another minute or two as people are gathering. But as we're getting everyone set up, just want to give you a heads up that everybody is muted. We have quite a few people on the webinar. If you have a question, feel free to type it in. At the end, we'll go through the questions and answer them as best we can. The way the presentation is going to work today is I will be giving a quick PowerPoint demo. I will then be passing it over to Eric Schutty, who is also at Data Plus. He's going to do a live demo showing exactly how the product works and its integration with the purchasing integration with Data Plus and the accounting system, and how everything can seamlessly go through. We'll bring it back to me for talk about a special that we are running with Amazon Business and answer questions at that point. Joining Eric and I from iComplete, who is the people who this product is from, is Annabelle Sim, Michaela Moorcraft, and Daviana Smith. They will be able to answer any questions that Eric and I can't handle. So going forward, if you guys want to see a more detailed demo, you want to dive in, we'd be more than happy to schedule something with you. Feel free to reach out to me. We'll have this is being recorded, so we'll be able to send it out to you as well after if you need to. We can really dive into the product and kind of show to you how it'll work in your environment and your different um, uh, scenarios that you need for purchasing and for any of your processes. So feel free to reach out to me after that. So it looks like we're pretty full now. Excellent. So let me get started. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. First, going to talk about some of the key drivers for automation. We'll talk about the purchase to pay experience, the benefits of automating your purchasing and AP process. As I mentioned, we'll then pass it over to Eric, who will be doing a live demonstration, and then we come back to me for QA and to talk about a special we're doing with Amazon Business. So the reason why we joined this partnership with iComplete is just from feedback from our customers who are looking to eliminate as much manual processing as possible, to get better control and visibility over invoices and reduce costs. Right. So what you'll see through this is that we can automate a lot of these processes, making it much easier to control your costs, to see where things are in the process for any updates and changes, and who's any approval workflows as well. Uh, and of course, the last piece of it is to be able to reduce costs as people are getting back from getting back to pre-COVID levels for work levels, but probably don't have the same staff as they had before. This would allow you to kind of eliminate a lot of that manual stuff and then and automate as much as you can. So that's the real goal of this whole thing. So what Eric is going to be showing you is basically this. It's going to be an integrated, we integrate your online buying from your specific vendors, which can be considered either punch out, punch in technology. We'll show you how that all works. That will then create a purchase rec. So by going through your normal processes of buying online and building a shopping cart, the purchase rec will be then generated. It'll then go through a very dynamic approval workflow. And that's where we can sit there and talk to you later and kind of going through what your workflow process looks like and how we can help customize this product to your workflow process. Once everything's been approved, and the nice thing about it, it's all self-contained within the system. You don't have to worry about sending out emails. You don't have to put in different folders. It's all going to be sitting in iComplete. And once this thing is improved, then the order will be placed in real time and a purchase order will be generated. Um, the goods will then come in, an invoice will come in, and it will be auto matched against the purchase order. And then once everything's been approved in there and everything looks great, uh, click a button and everything gets upgraded, gets sent right into Data Plus. It'll be sitting in the invoice entry screen on Data Plus. So you don't have to manually enter any POs in there. You don't have to manually put the jail accounts. It's all going to be associated and done within Complete, and you'll be able to see when Eric does the demo how this kind of all works together. We pass information back and forth between our two companies. We pass them your chart of accounts that gets rewritten on a nightly basis. And we pass and all the vendors as well. So everything kind of stays within Data Plus and then gets sent over through APIs back and forth. So how does the automation part work? So when the invoice comes in, it's going to get emailed to a generic email address, your company name at capturemybills.com. This can be done in PDF, Word, Excel, multiple different styles. And the beauty of this is that it can extract the data from the header and the uh, line items. So in a lot of circumstances, like in Massachusetts, there's no taxes on food and clothing, but you may have taxes on cutlery or something. So it's going to look at each line item and pull out the amounts and the taxes and the GL accounts from that. So that's not something that you have to do each time. It'll automate that process. Uh, then once everything is reviewed and everything looks right, that the amounts are all the same and everything matches up the way you want it, if there's more approval in there, you can send it through and it gets automatically sent into Data Plus for full integration. And again, sitting in the AP invoice entry screen. So everything will be contained in this iComplete product. Everything is read in there and it centralizes everything for you. Again, not having to track down different emails, track down different shared mailbox, shared drives where people are putting things, and you don't have to worry about the hotels themselves, the GMs and stuff getting the invoices and having to input them themselves. It all goes into a centralized mailbox and tries to keep it all within the accounting department as much as possible. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it all over to Eric. Eric is going to give a demo of the product. First, going to show you kind of how you would do this on a manual standpoint, and then show how it would be done through the punch-out technology with Amazon Business. Um, but it can be done for many other uh, online shopping. We're just using that one because we have a great relationship with them. And then we'll pass it back to me, and I'll talk about some of the deals that we're doing with Amazon Business and answer your questions. So, Eric, I'm going to pass over to you to make you the presenter.
Thank you, Greg. And I'm going to share my screen here. So everybody should be able to see my screen here where I'm going to log into the iComplete system. And as I'm logging in, I wanted to mention a few things that the first thing is that iComplete the system is browser based, and there's different types of users within the system. For example, there's users that can create purchase orders. There's users that can approve purchase orders. There's AP operator users. There's admin and configuration type users. So depending on how your user is set up, there's different menu options here that you'll have access to. The other thing I wanted to mention is the Capture My Bills email address. And this is where you'll direct vendors to send invoices to. If you already have a centralized email address where vendors send their invoices to, you can set up auto forward rules to forward your invoices from the centralized email address to the Capture My Bills email address. The capture engine will process invoices in any format, including PDF, Word, Excel, and paper scan documents. It will extract the header and line item data to create invoice transactions in iComplete. Today, I'm going to go through the ways to raise a purchase order, how the invoice capture and matching process works, and then finally, how your invoices can be automatically processed into Data Plus with our real-time integration. So now I'm going to go into create a new purchase order. And this is one way of doing it where I can select an existing order. So I'll select this one and I can create a duplicate of it. And here you can see that there's the header record up here, and then there's the line item records down here. So basically I can edit this. I'll put in a header, put in a title here in the header record. It has the vendor information, the email address and where it's going to be delivered to and a delivery date. There's also line items here that I can, if I need to edit anything here, I can do that. Like, for example, if I want to adjust the quantity, maybe I just want to order 50 of these, I can do that. If I want to change the GL account number, I can also do that. And also I can, if I need to change the GL account for like a whole group of line items, I can go in here and I can adjust it right from here. If I need to select a different GL account, I can do that, and that would auto fill it with all of these line items here would have the new GL account number. So with this one, since I'm just reordering the same type of items, I just changed the quantity there. I'm going to send it to my department heads for approval. So now that's been sent off to my department head for approval. And now I want to go back and I want to demonstrate another type of order. And that's going to be using this Amazon Business Punch Out vendor. So when I click on the Amazon Business, it's going to log me in directly to my Amazon Business account. So now I can look up an item, whatever it is I want to order. I'll order a copy paper. And basically, I'm logged into my Amazon Business account. I'll choose the copy paper that I want to order. I can add it to my cart. And once it's added to the cart, I can do proceed to checkout. And it has my uh, payment method here, and I'll choose to use that payment method. And then it's letting me know that this order requires approval because based on my login, I don't have the approval authority. So I'll submit it for approval. And once that's done, it brings me back into iComplete. And from here, again, I can see here's the header records for that purchase order. Here's the line item records. And with this vendor, I have it already being coded to my printing and stationery GL account number. But if I wanted to, I could still edit that. And now I'm going to send that for approval. So now that that's been sent for approval, I'm going to log in as my department manager just to show you what the approval process looks like. And once I log in, you'll see that there's a few more menu options that I have on the screen because I have more of an approval process here. There's more things that I can do and I complete. But what I want to show you is that when I go into manage the purchase orders, that there's different system trays here for saved orders, submitted, awaiting approval, approved, and so on. So I'm going to go into the awaiting approval and I can see here's my order from Amazon Business. I'm going to select that one. And again, here's the header records. And then down below, we have the line item records here. And I can simply approve it if everything looks good. If I want to, I can add comments. So once I approve or deny, the it'll open up a space where I can put in my comments. I can also, if I want to look at the documents and timeline, if there are any associated documents with it, they would show up here. Here's my approval timeline that shows that it's going to the hotel manager. And if everything looks good from here, I can click on approve. And I'll just put in a comment. Once I click on approve there, that's actually sending the order to Amazon. So now that it's been approved, I can see that it shows up in this system tray here for an approved order. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a copy of the purchase order number, and I'm going to create an invoice. So this is going to replicate Amazon sending the invoice to the Capture My Bills email address. So I'm going to use the invoice generator in our demo system that we have. I'll click on generate invoice. So this replicates the invoice coming to the Capture My Bill email address. And I'll click on process now. And now that that's been processed, I can go back to the main menu, and I'm going to go into manage invoices. And when I go into the managed invoices, I can see that there's like different system trays for the invoices. It's similar look to how the purchase order system trays look, where there's the unprocessed, there's submitted, there's invoices that are awaiting approval, and then there's the approved uh, invoices here. So I'm just going to go back to the unprocessed, and I can see here's my order from Amazon. And again, the invoice, it has like the header record up here. It has the line item records down here. And it's telling me in red that there is some stuff that requires validation. So I need to click on this part in red, and it shows me on the left, it shows me the image of the invoice over here. And I can see that there's header, this is the header record, and these are the line item records here. And since this one is highlighted in red, I know that it's missing a little bit of information here, which is I need to fill in the vendor reference. I'm going to put that into the apply to, because that's a required field in Data Plus. And then I also need to put in the posting period, because that's a required field in Data Plus. And if I want to put in a description, I can put in a description, and I'll save that. And I also want to mention that in this invoice transaction, I can go into the map vendor defaults. So if whenever I use this vendor, if I'm typically ordering things like linen, in this case, I order copy paper, I could change the account number to be copy paper, or paper supplies. But you can assign a GL account that's most commonly used for that vendor. So I'm just going to save this, and now I'm going to submit it for approval. And my user ID has the authority to approve. So now that invoice has been approved, it brought me to the next invoice on the list here. So I'm just going to go back to the main menu and back into manage invoices. And when I go into the manage invoices again, I can see the different system trays here. And when I go into the approved one, I can see that here's my order here. So it has the order from Amazon with the copy paper, and I can see there's an image of the transaction of the invoice is right here. I can close this, and here's a journal number that is will be the same transaction number in Data Plus. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into Data Plus. Oops. And I'll go into in accounts payable, in the invoice entry. And here I can see at the bottom of the list, here's my invoice transaction. Everything is good. So I could just click on post, and that would post it through in Data Plus. I do want to mention that it has that same transaction ID is showing over here. It also has the same image of the invoice showing here. So here's the image of the invoice. So everything is good. The transaction, it's fully completed in Data Plus and just ready to be posted. So that's everything I wanted to show in the demo for today. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it back over to Greg.
Thank you, Eric. Uh, so what really what we want to make sure we showed. So Eric wanted to show a bunch of stuff. So he wanted to show how everything worked together, and then if there were any errors, how that they are fixed, and uh, and then finally, how that all goes into Data Plus. So the nice thing is once this thing is set up, and we'll work with you to work with your largest vendors that have the online buying, so you could just go into the system um, and you buy through that, like you would see all of those icons underneath in that kind of punch out. Uh, ex- what we actually going to go a little further with Amazon Business is actually it's the newest thing called Punch In, where you don't even have to go into the complete product. You can actually go in through Amazon Business, and it will recognize your username. Amazon recognizes your username as being an iComplete customer, and it'll build everything behind the scenes without you even have to go into complete. So we've even taken it to the next step with Amazon and Amazon Business. So it's pretty incredible, and we're the first. iComplete is the first company to have this type of technology. That's why we're so excited to be partnering with them. Another thing that Amazon Business has done is they've offered a promotion to really try to push this thing. So right now you can get a free subscription of Amazon Business Prime for up to 12 months. So that's significant savings if this is something you're using or you want to start using. Uh, Everyone kind of knows Amazon Business and Prime with the free deliveries, business savings, controlling everything and doing analysis. So it's a really nice product. And this would be the first one of its kind. And it will give you incredible productivity gain. And of course, gives you huge savings. So if you're using Amazon Prime, you can still get this benefit. If you're not using it, it'd be a nice thing to work with to see if that helps you within your business. But this is offers available till June 30th, and it is capped, so there is a first come first serve on it as well. So again, let me know if that's something that you guys are interested in, and we can talk to more about the demo, showing how your workflow works and how we work within the system, and then secondly, um, how you can get the Amazon Prime. Okay, so I have a couple questions that um, need to get. Sorry. So, uh, can we integrate with other vendor websites other than Amazon? Yes. So, uh, the integration is this is really new technology, and I know with some other vendors, it's can be very difficult and very expensive to integrate with other vendors, and they even some of you can cap at, I think it's even 10 is the most they'll integrate with. Uh, Within the complete, you can integrate with as many vendors as you need to that makes sense to, and it's much quicker and less expensive process because they have kind of using the latest and greatest. So what we do is we work with you to find out who kind of you're doing, most of your online buying with, and integrate with them. So we can really, and as you change vendors and add, we can continue going into the future. Do you need to do everything right away? You can just start with just invoice capture. You do not need to um, do the purchasing to have invoice capture. The invoice capture can be a standalone. Uh, it works really well with the purchasing side of it. Typically, because now you're starting with something that you already have the PO generated, and you kind of have that process. But if that's something you want to bring in later, and you just want to kind of focus on the invoice capture, um, then great. We'll start you with that. It has the AI, and we'll do the reading of your invoices. It still will centralize all your invoices coming in. You could still go in and make any changes that need to be done and approve within the iComplete system through those trays that Eric talked about. And then finally, it'll automatically get uploaded into Data Plus. And again, that's an API connection. So we're sending into the complete system your vendors and your chart of accounts. So those can always stay up to date. And then they'll be sending us through the API every time there's a change to send it into Data Plus to have your invoices there. So they don't have to be together. Uh, Another question, how do I handle invoices that come in the mail? Um, that is, uh, so what you would do in that case is just scan the image in and send it through to the email address. So, and that will also read the imaging. Um, the um, It's also works if you kind of have to go to a portal to pull down an invoice. You could just again just take that soft copy and email it to the centralized, and it'll read it that way as well. Um, so is the process meant to take place of the accounts payable module in Data Plus? It's not going to it's not going to take place of it entirely. You'll still be doing a lot of stuff within Data Plus. It's just going to be, we look at it as just enhancing it. So the data, it's just getting the data in and getting it in quicker and easier. What we're going to be doing uh, is we're going to be, uh, and you'll see this pretty soon as we're kind of going to be launching our payment process, then our new payment process in the next few months. Is we've been building everything to be browser based, trying to get rid of Citrix and integrating latest and greatest technologies. So this will kind of flow into the reporting of in the updates of accounts payable. It's still going to be probably a year or two before the accounts payable is fully browser based, but this is kind of the start, and we'll then push everything over to that. But it's not going to be a full replacement. And is direct payment to vendor available? Yeah, so that's kind of the next step of this, which we'll be doing a webinar probably maybe 2 or 3 months to talk about the direct payment side of it. Um, the So the next step is going to be this updating our payment process, which we're testing right now internally and working with internally, and everything looks great. And then that will allow you to connect with electronic payment vendors to do the direct payment and not having to print checks. We're trying to get away from being in the check writing business. Uh, Can previously captured invoices be imported to iComplete to assist in the building of the purchasing database? Yes, exactly. That's a really good question because we can help build the AI. So the beauty of the AI, which we're kind of learning with all of this um, chat GPT, everything, and it's really learning, and it's learning on everything. So it is we'll be able to bring in prior invoices so it kind of understands what to look for and where they are and where the data is on the invoices, and be able to kind of get that learning process going while we're doing your setup. So um, if you're just doing, especially if you're just going to be doing the invoice side and not doing the purchasing side, it's a way to kind of teach the system and learn kind of where everything is beforehand. Any other questions? Yes, it is. Okay, so I mentioned the iComplete, and it says, is this platform? It looks like it's a third party that Data Plus is using to facilitate the process. It is true. This is a third party iComplete that we've been partnering with. So if there are any issues, um, you would still come to Data Plus. So this is going to be white labeled for us. Uh, Eric is going to be the product manager, the kind of the first line, plus our support is going to be trained on this. So all implementation is we've already done a few implementations on this. So we're you know so they've been helping us kind of get the first few customers set up, and probably over the next couple that we'll be doing all the implementations ourselves with probably just some help from the iComplete team as necessary. But any support issues that come, it would still come in through our support team. They'll be able to help on anything on any first level. Eric can handle anything, or Eric and a few others in our project team can handle anything second level. And then if there's anything that's really in depth with the system, that's something that we would be working with iComplete to handle. So we would still be your quote unquote one throat to choke. Everything would come through us. Similarly, the contract would also be with us, and all payments be with us. So you don't have to worry about um, uh, that aspect of it yet. Is there a checkbook function? Um, the there is, and I may have to bring in a complete person for this about. So you're talking, if you're asking the checkbook about reporting and kind of seeing your balances and things. I know there's a budgeting aspect of it in order to see how you're doing versus your budget. So you can upload your budget in and see how that works. The checkbook functionality, I think, would still be happening on the Data Plus side. And Annabelle, if I'm wrong, or anyone else over there, let me know. And if I'm wrong, I'll get an email out to you, Mark. Long before Data Plus transitions away from Citrix. Uh, it's going to be probably a good 18 months to get the full thing moved over. We have, you know, what we're trying to do is move some of the larger things over first. So, payments is going to be a big one. This aspect of getting it into the system very easily. So if by using the iComplete product, it would get your invoices into the system without having to go into Data Plus. And then the payment function is going to be a web function that you could go in and make your payments, and then the files would go to a company like a CSI to do the electronic filing, the electronic payments. Um, the next thing that we're looking at is statements and getting all statements and reports as a web function. Um, we're hoping to get that done, at least the lion's share of that done by the end of this year. And then after that, we'll start migrating all of the different pieces of it. But we're hoping to get a lot of it done. Um, that's going to be more where you're spending most of your time. Kind of the 80% of your time going to be. We notice as people are using it to run reports, to pay their bills, and to input invoices. And so by kind of getting those big ones done early, that will won't be fully off of Citrix. You might still need to go in for some administrative stuff, but for the day to day, will be fully browser based. But it is a huge priority of Data Plus. Uh, Question came up about, once we've transitioned from Citrix, do we expect this to still have this partnership with iComplete, or are we looking to develop? We do not want to develop anything. We couldn't develop anything like this. The expertise needed is something that we just don't have the resources for, nor do we have the knowledge of, and having the relationships with like the Amazon business. We've been relying on Complete to utilizing their resources and their programmers and their relationships that they've built. So we do not ever want to try to build something ourselves, even with the payments as well. The actual payments we want to do is partner with great companies. Um, so that's our goal, is to kind of focus on what we do very, very well. It's going to be the accounting system. We're going to have much better integrated reporting and dashboards, bank reconciliation, incorporating some management tools. But other than that, anything outside of that, when it comes to the invoice entries, the payments, um, we're going to keep these relationships. Any other questions? Is the reporting in the third party for AP going to reflect exactly what's in Data Plus? Yeah, so everything's going to be, so Data Plus was still going to be um, the central hub for all the information. So we want to keep it as the kind of the one source of truth. So everything's going to be reflected within Data Plus. The data is going to be passing back and forth. Uh, especially as things like the chart of accounts of the vendor. So what we were literally going to be doing is kind of wiping it every night and rewriting it. The reason being, like if delete an account or delete a vendor, and if you just saved the changes, you may not see that deletion because you only were changing address or something like that. So we want to make sure that everything is clean as possible as we're passing data back and forth. The beauty of the API that we've been building with them is that it makes it much easier to do that. We're not sending things through SFTPs and emails, and there's no manual process. There's nobody on either side touching it. So as far as passing the data back and forth, all of the information will be stored within Data Plus. All the reporting will be stored in Data Plus. All the chart of accounts, the vendors, and everything will be stored in Data Plus, and then we'll push the data out to the vendors who we do the third parties with. So there is an automated process for reconciliation between the two systems. The next question that just came in: is there a manual process, an automated or manual process for reconciliation between the two systems to make sure they stay in balance? Yes, that's exactly what we've done. So um, as we're making those changes, it can be it's going to be pushed over. So we want to make sure that everything stays in balance, and everything um, it's done at the data plus level. So that's your accounting system. That's where the reporting has to come from. That's where the one source of truth needs to be. So that is a huge priority for us to make sure that everything stays in balance as much as possible. And if it's something that you're adding a vendor to, and you need to access that vendor right away within complete, we can work with you on that as well to make sure that everything uh, happens right then and there. I'll pause for a second to see if any other questions have come up. Um, the if you do have more questions, if things come up that you think of later, feel free to reach out to me. I may not know the answer, but I'll get you the answer. We can set up an individual demo for you, showing you kind of some more deeper um, uh, functionality. We can talk about your workflow, how we can set that up within this system. Um, as I mentioned, we already have a couple customers using the product. So we've been through kind of that growing pains of how we set it up. We're actually setting it up within our own system as well. So um, uh, we've kind of run through the wall for you. So it's really a nice and easy process to get you set up. It really just comes down to setting up the API, which is uh, you know within a day can be taken care of, and then training. As you see, it's a fairly intuitive system. So if because you guys have such great experience within AP invoices and invoice entry and all that stuff, once you run through it a couple times, uh, you'll really get the hang of it. But we'll make sure that you're fully trained. We'll have things recorded for you, tech notes set up, all those things to make it easy for you. So feel free to reach out with any other questions, set up demos, um, and pricing and things like that. I'll do a quick pricing thing. So the way that the main pricing works is it's based upon the you buy a bunch of invoice credits. So you're not paying like a monthly fee for X amount of 500 credits, and if you only use 300, you lose it. It's nothing like that. You would buy, say, 500 credits, and you have over a 3-year time period to use those 500 credits. So they don't go away um, on a monthly basis or anything like that. That way, if you want to buy in bulk, you can save more and more. Um, I'm just asking me about pricing. So you can save more and more by buying in a huge bulk, and then especially if you know that I process 500 a month invoices a month, you can buy 5,000 and get a huge price break on it because you're going to use it through the first year. One invoice does equal one credit, yes. So an invoice could be 5 pages long. It's still going to be only one credit. Uh, so that way, and then once you're done with those credits, you'll just buy more, and we just kind of roll it through that way. So it's really easy to do, and it's very easy. I don't know if you even noticed it when Eric was giving the demo. There was actually a spot that said number of credits. I think it was like 497 credits left or something. Uh, so that you can kind of track to see where we go. Once it starts getting low, let us know. We'll get that set up for you, and you can continue on. There's also an annual fee that just covers, the system itself, um, the connect, just monitoring the connections, just all the regular software stuff. But it's a fairly nominal fee on an annual basis. And as mentioned, if you're something you're interested in, I'll be more than happy to share that with you. Okay, I'll pause for another minute or two if any other questions come up. Oh, good question. Are the credits subject to inflation, or will the credit always be one invoice 5 to 10 years from now? Um, the credit will always be worth one invoice. Whether the price goes up might be a separate thing, uh, from especially 5 to 10 years from now. But one credit, one invoice. But what we're actually seeing is, especially in technology, usually the opposite happens, that the price goes down over time, because we're getting such economies of scale. Um, the current cost for 500 credits is, let me pull this up. Sorry, I don't have this at my fingertips.
I can answer that one if you want, Greg.
Oh, and yeah,
Yeah. So it's 56 cents for each invoice at 500, but then the more credits that you purchase, the lesser the cost per invoice. So it goes down to 45 cent, 38 cent, and 34 cent per invoice when you purchase 10,000.
yeah, thank you. So as you can see, getting into the 48 cents for an invoice is incredibly cost effective. What we see in the industry is more like $1 to $1.50 per invoice, and even companies like Concur I've seen up to $2. Um, Main reason for it is utilizing better technology and not having to. A lot of companies use OCR, the optical character recognition, and so they have to have you read it. They're trying to read the invoice, and then they send it overseas in order to be looked at by humans. So that, for the most part, I mean, they're using the AI to learning it. There is some OCR, and if there's something that's really tricky, or we can get some humans to look at it, but it's really such a small percentage that gets passed that way, so it can really keep our costs down, and that's where you're seeing the benefit is basically utilizing the latest and greatest technology to keep costs down, which we're kind of seeing across the board. Yeah, and if you, yeah, we'll offer again a demo for you guys. So just feel free to reach out to me. This is Greg, and uh, then I'll be more than happy to do a demo for you. I think my email is, yeah. Here's my email and phone number. So reach out to me. We'll have this recording available for you. So if you want to, uh, if you can't fall asleep at night and you need something to help, you can rewatch this tonight and get a better understanding of what's going on. But we're more than happy to set those demos up for you on an individual basis and really dive in and understand how you're doing your systems, what your process is now, and what we can do to mimic that or make it better. What we've seen is that people kind of build processes because of the technology they have in hand, or that's the way we kind of always do it. But there might be a better way of doing it, utilizing better technology, and so we're more than happy to kind of walk that through with you, especially you, Don, since you're in Newport and we're starting to get to the summer. uh if we find the tech isn't picking up the data in an invoice and we need to manually process this, are we still charged? um I know that's something that we could probably work with them on. Annabelle, have you had a history with that in the past?
So the charging would occur, or reduction of the credit would occur when the invoice data has been extracted and downloaded into the site. which you can edit and change it as required. If there's any issues that you do see, you can flag it with Data Plus, and we can review that and potentially add a credit back on if it's something which is our error. So we can review that with you if that were to occur. But the accuracy rating is at, I think, 99.6%. So, and that's header and line data. So pretty confident that the data that you'd receive would be as it should be, but you can obviously make any changes as required as well.
Question: do you find that the 99% rate works for one-off vendors like mom and pop shops as well?
Yeah, so in terms of our accuracy rating, that's across the board. So we have a kind of list of onboarded vendors that we've seen before that are included within our AI library for digital invoices, PDF, Word, Excel, etc. And then any one-off suppliers, vendors that we see would just go through a validation step before being downloaded into your system. So yeah, that's why we have a across the board accuracy rating, because there's validation steps in place for scenarios where our AI library isn't auto processing them. Or just well formatted invoices. So there's another question around, oh, there's a couple of other questions coming in. Complete that validation or a person. So it would depend on the scenario. If it's a handwritten invoice, something like that, then obviously technology, it's impossible for it to really produce a data layer. So if there is an unreadable invoice, then our OCR backup technology would give it a go and see what data it can or data layer it can produce. But any that don't meet the accuracy rating to be downloaded would go in front of a human being to validate and yeah, check the data before downloading into your application. So it's a mixture of tech and a service when required for more difficult invoices. Any that we can't read at all, we can also send to a designated email address if there's an error in general, which would be set up as part of the implementation as well. No problem.
Thank you. Okay. Excellent. So I think this ends the Q&A portion. If anyone else has anything, feel free. But again, if there's something you think about later, send me an email, call me. Uh, I'll be able to get any question answered for you and any demo set up for you. As I mentioned, we do have this product live. What you saw was kind of our demo system, and now everything is already forwarded into that. It's already part of our QA system as well. For all development is incorporated into it. So this is our product going to be part of our product going forward, and we want to make sure that everything is as efficient as possible and giving you guys the best results that we can. So I appreciate all of your time, and once again, feel free to reach out to me with anything you need. Thank you very much.